I'm Amy, sex educator, somatic sex and relationship coach, and sex shop owner.
And I'm April, VP of an international high-end pleasure products company and boss queen sex toy mogul. We're best friends who make our own rules about who we are as sexual beings.
With everything from how to be a badass in the bedroom to top tips for bringing your relationship to the next level, we have something just for you.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com. Hello, everyone.
Hey, folks.
How you doing today, Chiappa?
I didn't sleep very well last night.
No?
No. I think I was all charged up. We taught a class in San Francisco.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was super great.
Ooh, we should say hi to, won't use her name, but listener who listened to all of our episodes. She said that she listened to all of them, some of them twice.
I know, I loved her.
And now she wants to go be a sex educator. Hi,
she was like, I'm starstruck. We were like, oh my God, she was so sweet.
You made our night, and
you
yeah,
did.
it was so good to teach there. I want to teach there again.
It was. We got back pretty late, and I didn't sleep super well, so I'm tired today and a bit emotional. You know, it's
those fucking planets.
My moon cycle, Mercury's in retrograde, all of it. I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling defeated or anything. I'm just my energy is not as wow as it typically is.
I'm not defeated. I just feel like
Mercury's in retrograde.
There's just so much going on right now. Meh.
You know what will make you feel a little better? I know nothing can
can
make you feel better.
Wine.
Well, wine always makes you feel better.
Margins wine.
Margins wine is... Now it's become my favorite wine. So the red wine she just came out with, it's not available yet, but it's going to be available. It's a Cab Franc.
Yeah, Cab Franc.
You love it. I love it. I brought it to a party yesterday.
Who loves it? My mom is a wine snob. She loves it.
And your mom, I know.
Yeah.
Mama Janice loves it.
Yeah.
And people are like, this is so good. And if you go on marginswine.com and sign up for the newsletter, she doesn't spam you out or anything like that. She rarely, just when she releases a new wine, which is every few months, you'll get notification. So check that out. And also if you use the discount code shamelesssex10, when you buy 3 or more bottles on her site, you get a 10% discount. And then if you buy half a case, so that's 6 bottles plus, you will get 15% by using Shameless Sex 15. And that's exclusive to us. She's never offered a discount code before on her wine. So it's a pretty good deal. It's about $25 a bottle, which is, I think, on the, it's a mid-range priced wine, but it's for the quality.
Totally worth it.
It's totally worth it. You don't get hungover because there's no sulfites.
Woman-owned and raw wine.
Woman-owned raw wine. But that was one thing to say to help you feel better. But the other thing, so... being an emotional being today that I am, I was looking through our emails and my apologies to all the folks that we haven't been able to address their sex questions.
We are going to answer sex question, but you have a share
But
first.
I have a share first. So I started crying after I read this. So I'm going to keep their name anonymous because I'm assuming that they'd like that. But this was a message that we received. It was from yesterday. So when this podcast release, it'll be a couple weeks, but it's from August. So your show has changed my life. In 18 years of marriage, I've never been able to be honest in the bedroom. The connection I feel now goes so far beyond physical pleasure. I feel loved. Thank you for putting yourselves out there.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Fully started crying. Isn't that so sweet?
That's awesome. Yeah. In Chip, you don't cry too often.
No.
I love that. That's the sweetest thing ever. You know, and I love that we're humble as fuck because that just feels good. And it doesn't, like, my ego's not massive from it. It just like nourishes. Let's talk about the feelings that gives us. I feel warm inside.
Well, when I was upstairs, I said this to my partner, and I'm just going to be totally candid and raw right now and transparent. I was like, I didn't save my marriage. It was time for me to move on, but it looks like I'm helping other people save their relationships and their marriage, and it feels really good.
Well, and then your experience with your marriage has really taught you what you needed to be here.
Right.
Probably.
If I could have, rewound and been, where I am today with it, I think it would have probably been different. But I think our time had expired together, no matter what. But I think it could have been done probably with better communication and from a deeper part of myself rather than just short of shutting down, which is what I did at the time.
Yeah.
So it's all a learning process, and I'm still learning. But that's what my feelings were about that. So just wanted to share that with you, Miss Amy.
Thanks, Chip. That does make me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, good. And Monty's here.
Monty always makes me feel better.
Montosaurus Rex.
He's the cutest little mascot in the whole world. Well, we have a sex question, and then this podcast, we have a guest speaker, and it is on how men can live authentically in sex and in the realm of sex and relationships.
It's pretty interesting.
Yes, very interesting.
I think he has some great insights. I think it's worth tuning in whether you identify as a female body, hetero, if you're a male body individual, you're a straight, gay, whatever you are choosing
all the things
to be today. Tune in. I think you'll enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about like male body folks who identify as men, and there's a lot of talk about more so relating to women. So that's like definitely in there, and I think there's something to pull out of it for everyone. And there's a lot of stuff if you are someone who is a big fan of men, meaning you're in relationships with them. There's a lot of good information for you too. But before we do, I'm going to answer a sex question with the subject line, genital warts.
This is an oldie but goodie.
Yep, genital warts.
From April 9th, so here we go.
And this person will be anonymous. Says, hi guys, my partner of 1 year has told me he has genital warts. He thinks he mentioned it previously, but I don't remember. I've been listening to your podcast because we have been having some issues around communication. We've been fighting a lot. My sex drive has been low, and now I have this new information. I love him a lot, but I'm not sure what to do here. Can I please remain anonymous? Yes, you can. Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's so genital warts. Okay, so it's a little odd to me that someone would think that they may have mentioned it to you over the last year, and if that doesn't seem like.
Remember when we were out at that bar? Yeah, you were really drunk. I told you then.
I told you over some shots.
I got the warts. Damn
it! You weren't listening. You're a terrible listener. I mean, it just seems like one of those conversations that's beyond just like I'm just going to kind of mention it. It seems like it's one of those conversations that is like, hey, here's something really big that I need to tell you. I have genital warts. I have an STD, STI that is going to hang around me forever. And I would just imagine that would be much more of a conversation you would remember unless there was a bottle of Jack Daniels involved.
Not knowing a lot about genital warts, is that the same as like having an outbreak? Is it only transmittable when you're having there's like a flare up, or is it there and then you can go get treated? I don't know a lot about it.
So I am, as a sex educator, still will not be declare myself an STD knowledge master. But what I do know about genital warts, also because I've had partners that have had them, is it's just like, it can be, there's versions of genital warts that are just like warts in your body where you can have them burned off. You'll get like a specific virus and then they'll kind of grow and then you get them burned off like you do if you had warts on your leg or your foot or whatever.
Okay.
And then they can go away. But also HPV is genital warts as well. And you can have HPV without genital warts, but it can have genital warts. So you can actually see little warts and it's just a different version of HPV.
And that's internal on the...
Or external. I've seen them on penises before. And they're like, oh, that's HPV on a penis.
So I'm just curious as to... I guess...
Did you just Google it?
Yes, I did.
Click images, see what happens.
Oh, Lord.
I just love doing this because it's so terrifying.
Ah! Oh, my God. That looked like a nipple. All right. That's great. Now I know. I mean, that's a real... I mean, HPV is... I think that's like 1 in 2, if not more, folks have that. And that just gives you an irregular pap, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, in the HPV can turn into cancer. So there's a lot of different things there. There's different types of HPV. There's so many different strains. You can have it just like on your cervix and there's no warts. So there could be genital warts. And I mean, the end of the day, this person is feeling a little betrayed.
Right.
Feeling a little misled.
Right.
And I'm agreeing like, yeah, it doesn't seem like the kind of thing that you just maybe mentioned. Like, I thought you knew. So I understand that. And it's also on top of these other things. If you're fighting a lot, your sex drive's low.
Communication issues.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like that this is almost a communication issue as well, where
Totally.
it's like, I told you, where it probably was on his mind to tell you. And I'm sure because it probably is a big deal to him and he probably wanted to tell you, but hadn't.
He was scared.
Had the chance.
Fear.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of fear that I mean, that's why a lot of people don't share STD information or STI information. They're fearful that you won't want to have sex with me, you won't love me, you'll judge me, and so I'm just not going to tell you, or tell you in a way that maybe I can pretend like I told you that when I didn't. But
I commend him for telling.
Eventually,
partner,
although I don't know, did he? I mean, it doesn't say.
It says
my partner of 1 year. Oh, told me. Okay, finally. By the way, I've
but he thought, yeah.
So this person's asking, not sure what to do here. I mean, we're not going to tell you to break up with them. We're not going to tell you. I mean, other than there's hurt here. There is. It feels like broken trust, and it feels like for the relationship to continue, those things need to be addressed in loving communication. Like your hurt needs to be expressed lovingly and also acknowledged, and then you two figure out how you can communicate in a way that this kind of thing doesn't happen again, where people don't feel misled, and you can put everything on the table and not have something pop up later that is really hurtful.
And if you're concerned about getting, the disease, you can take precautions. Use condoms. They're about 85% effective.
Which is going to be a little funky for a skin on skin thing, right?
But I'm just saying, if that is the issue, if they're like, I really love this person, I just want to take precautions. I mean, there are ways to do that. Obviously,
totally.
Do more research. Maybe there's specific times, just like with herpes, that you could. I don't know. I'm not an expert either.
I mean, warts are, I think, are as far as was one of those things. If there are actual physical warts that you can see externally, you can go and have them burned off.
Okay.
And so I mean, it just really depends.
I got warts on my feet from the showers in college. And I had to go get them burned off.
I have
true story.
I have two.
And I wore flip flops.
I have one good foot and one bad foot. My good foot has nothing on it. It's just like, it's my good foot. My left foot. When people rub my feet, I'm like, go for my left foot. Yeah. My right foot is my bad foot. It has like 3 planters warts on it. One huge one in the middle that my friend saw the other day, and she's like, you're gonna have to get that.
Yeah,
shit
you need to go get that.
She's like,
they go to your bone.
I don't think really.
Like the planters warts, they can go all the way down to your bone.
Oh my god. I should probably get it removed now.
Yeah, for sure.
Will you take care of me? Because I won't be able to walk.
True story, another one. I'm just full of them today. I had when I was like 18, I had one on the side of my foot from college. I think it was 19 at the time. I had to go get removed. I couldn't walk. I had to walk with a cane for about 2 weeks. And people were like, what happened to you? I was like, a basketball injury. I got it. I was 19. I did not want to be like, I got a plantar's wart removed. I haven't had any since.
I think I'm really thinking I need to go get surgery.
No, now you look concerned. You're all like stressed out.
Oh, you said it goes to the bone?
It can go to the bone.
I
mean, look at that. That's probably my, Midwest conservative, like, everyone.
It goes to the bone and then it will travel to your heart.
Yeah, and then you're going to die.
And then you'll get it in your pussy. Damn it. It says STD on my foot. I heard you couldn't get STD in cave. You know that one.
Oh, I do.
Inside joke. Okay, anyways. Wow. All right, everyone. We're going to dive into the podcast now.
Wait, last shout out about one announcement, I should say, not a shout out. I want to announce that Amy and I will be at it's not called the Sexual Health Expo anymore. It's called the Sex Expo. It's free. There's goodie bags. It's in Brooklyn at the Convention Center, September 22nd, September 23rd. That's Saturday and Sunday. We'll be there from 11 a.m. till 6 p.m. both days. I will be MCCCCing. And come and say hi to us. We're probably going to record a live podcast. Whoa, my voice.
Interesting.
I just went through puberty.
Yeah. Moon cycle.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Awesome. The Sex Expo. I was like, there's going to be a lot of...
Yeah, Amy's like, we're going to get some interesting folks.
Yeah. You call something a Sex Expo?
I know,
I'm super excited about it, but the name is definitely...
They changed it, I think, recently.
I mean, I think more people will come. Now there's a Sex Expo.
Hopefully not during the show on us.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
We're not looking for that necessarily.
We want you all to come, just not on us, please. Thank you. Okay, so an announcement. Pure Pleasure, our beloved sponsor, whom we love, is having a sale this month. It's Anal August, everyone. Stick it in your anal, but do it safely. And Pure Pleasure is having a special. Well, our listeners always get 15% off of everything at Pure Pleasure using coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps. This month, for the month of August, you get 20% off of all anal toys. So just go online and you add your toys to the cart, and then during checkout, use code AUGANAL18 in all caps. So that's capital AUGANAL 18 in the checkout, and you get 20% off of all anal toys. So get those now for Anal August. And let's see, Chip, tell me, what are some of your favorite anal toys?
I love the booty plug from Fun Factory. They have it in small, medium, and large, which was a suggestion of moi back in the day. And it was one of my favorite plugs to begin with, to actually start, because it has a crescent-shaped stopper, so it fits really nicely between your butt cheeks. So it's comfy. And what are anal plugs good for, Miss Baldwin?
To stop poop. Just kidding. No, they are designed to relax the anal sphincter muscles. If you're going to move to something larger, or they just feel nice, a nice feeling of fullness, or they're a really good starter toy for just kind of experimenting with some anal play. And there's some that are specifically for prostate and some that are not. But yeah, the booty plug is awesome. Is it BOOTIE? No, BOOTY plug. And they have small, medium, and large. Love those. And then I also love anal beads, but I like a bead plug combo. So not something that's too long. I think Tantus makes one called the Ripple, and it's just like a couple of them. It's not like a full strand of beads. The stopper part that goes between the cheeks isn't as awesome as the Fun Factory one, but it's a nice strand of like shorter beads and bead plug combination, so you don't have this like massive strand of beads. Although anal beads are a great starter thing too, and Fun Factory has some good ones. What is it called? The bendy beads. They look really big, but actually the ass can really fit in pretty much anything you want. You don't have to put the whole strand in. So they're really high grade silicone. So there you go, everyone. There's some of our recommendations. We've tried them in our own butts ourselves.
B-Vibe too. Vibrating anal plug. It's a bit bigger, so you need to be an advanced anal player.
Well, they have different sizes too, but there's the one that you're talking about that moves around. Yeah. Let's go have some anal now. Chip, you have an announcement too. We're looking for an intern. Do you want to share some information? You want me to share some information?
I can do it. Take a rest, Ms. Baldwin. Decided to call her Ms. Baldwin today. I don't know why. I'm just being serious. So we are looking for an intern. Everybody out there in intern land or in the land of studying that wants to help Shameless Sex get to the next level. We're looking for someone. It's going to be unpaid initially. However, I will say this. If you kick ass, love us, listen to our podcast avidly, we definitely will have room for growth, and definitely will pay you eventually. When we get paid, you get paid. So it's only going to be about 5 to 8 hours maximum per week. And initially it's probably going to be about 8, but then it'll go down to a lot less because we need some initial organization help. And we'll give you details. Email us if you're interested. We will also provide you with all of our expertise. Amy's got so much background in sex ed. I have tons of experience in the sex toy world. You'll get free sex toys, free Uber Lube, and again, the potential for growth and expansion. So if you're interested in the sex ed community, or you just love what we do in our mission, email us, shamelesssexpodcast@gmail.com, and let us know. But we do hope that if you're not able to be the intern out there and you're listening to this, and maybe you know someone that you're like, wow, I know my friend blah blah, that would be super good, I'm going to pass this information on.
Yeah, I always like to invite people when they apply for jobs to do some sort of like mini cover letter intro thing on why this job speaks to you, because we're definitely looking for someone who's passionate about these topics, and someone who's an avid listener who knows a lot of our episodes. So it isn't your typical internship job. Like, this is sex, everyone, and you're listening, so you already know that. And we are preferring someone that we could meet in person, so someone that does live locally around the Santa Cruz area or Bay Area, where we could actually just at least meet you once or twice. But we're open to people who don't live around here too. So feel free to apply no matter what. And we look forward to hearing from you all.
Anyway, we should probably get to it with the podcast. I've been ranting on and on. Love you.
All right, everyone. It is episode time as promised. And first, I shall read a bio and wish me luck because I always get the bio wrong. Woo! So, Robert Kandell has been helping men find themselves for 14 years. An expert in interpersonal communication and relationships, he has helped thousands of students find a more balanced, energized life with better relationships, more sex, and more happiness. His coaching style is challenging, fraternal, and highly rewarding, and definitely not for the faint-hearted. He has been described as part football coach, part loving dad, and part slightly crazed drill sergeant. He is the host of the highly successful podcast Tuff Love and the author of the upcoming book UnHIDDEN, a book for men and those confused by them. Welcome, Robert. Hi, Robert.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you here.
I love the part slightly crazed drill sergeant. Is this true?
This is true.
Wow.
I didn't make it as a football coach. So instead, I coach men, and that part definitely comes out.
Do you bring a whistle to your coaching?
An energetic whistle.
Oh, okay.
I've actually been known to have a stopwatch, but that's a whole different story.
Oh, I love that.
I want to see you in action. Can you tell us, our listeners? So the topic today, we're going to talk about how men can live in authenticity in sex and relationships. But can you also just give us the background on your journey to get where you are today?
Sure. I told the story many times. I considered myself normal until I was around 28. I was living in San Francisco, corporate America, married, 5-bedroom house in San Francisco, just really living that standard life, the path that was laid out to me by my father and my grandfather. And then when I was 28, I went to Burning Man, which was 1998, before Burning Man was as big as it is now. And I had some life-changing experiences that really just showed that there was this whole other world that was available that I had no clue about. Came back to San Francisco and started to investigate personal development, sexuality, raves, really a wild time in San Francisco. And then in 2004, started One Taste with a woman named Nicole Daedone. Did that for 10 years. One Taste taught about relationships, intimacy, communication, sexuality, and had a practice called orgasmic meditation. Left that in 2014. And came to Venice Beach with a blank slate, and since then have built a coaching and business consulting. I'm also a podcaster, and I'm writing my first book, and got married and co-parenting 2 kids. So it's been a pretty epic 4 years.
Yeah, and just an epic journey in general.
Indeed.
So many people find themselves at Burning Man.
I know. Do you still go to Burning Man, Robert?
I haven't been to Burning Man since 2003. One Taste started in 2004. I always said One Taste was my Burning Man daily. And Morgan, my wife, is interested. So we might make it back soon.
Yes. The RV style is, I think, the preferred way to go about it, at least if I went.
Glamping. Yeah, glamping. Or she's a glamping or RV kind of woman, which I can respect.
Totally. Is One Taste still around, or is that? Okay. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
One Taste? No.
Oh, yeah, One Taste. Yeah, we haven't. Yes, haven't done a podcast on One Taste before, but I actually invited April to. I was like, we should go do an orgasmic meditation workshop, just the 2 of us, like a 1-day workshop, and we can practice with each other, and then we can do a podcast about it. And I think that you said that that your partner wouldn't be comfortable with me diddling your clit.
I think that's right.
Or they might want to watch.
Or probably more accurately so.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and this I mean, we can talk more about that as well. Although I think the focus of this podcast is going to be more so on men and authenticity and sex and relationships. But I'm sure you could talk about your journey in One Taste forever. But so can you tell us? So what are some of the practical steps for folks to live more authentically in today's world? I know it's challenging out there, but what do you think is necessary?
Well, there's 2 main things that are necessary. And I'm going to say them very simply, knowing how challenging these are. So the first is stop lying. And the second is reward your partner for their truth.
Okay. Stop lying and reward your partner for the truth. Can you elaborate a little more on that? So just one would just be just being completely honest.
What, do you believe in radical honesty?
I do believe in radical honesty. I did a podcast a little while ago, and I said, isn't it sad that we have this statement, radical honesty? Like, we need to add the word radical honesty to actually be honest. And in my viewpoint, people are trained to be mediocre communicators. We're trained to withhold, and I have withhold the same as lying because we're worried about the other person. And so when we tend to lie and withhold, we create facades, and then we have facades interacting with facades which are inauthentic because we're afraid. We're afraid to reveal ourselves, and we're afraid to be intimate. So the way to be authentic is, one, is to stop lying, and two, to reward your partner for telling the truth. And I know that sounds kind of blunt, but you just start to take the steps towards that. Tell one more truth a day, one more truth an hour, one more thing that's really difficult to talk about, and you can watch your whole relationship improve and morph.
I had a teacher that had this slogan that was more truth sooner, and which I really liked, is that this idea of, oh, now's not a good time. I don't know if it's safe to say this. I don't want to kill the mood. And this idea that just like there is not always a perfect time. And yes, you can be conscientious of timing, but just the more truth sooner as opposed to withholding and sitting on it.
Exactly. I am in total agreement. And I'm not about vomiting your truth on your partner. You want to create a safe space. You want to ask permission. You want to ensure that the kids aren't going to come running in, or the mom's coming over, or you're about to go to work. You want to ask for space to reveal it, or set up a practice every night before you go to bed. Let's just sit and talk for 30 minutes and reveal, and have a space where we can tell each other those things that we really want to say, but we're afraid to say. Let's create a space for that. So there's many ways to practice and set up the environment so the truth can be told and rewarded.
And the second was more appreciation?
Rewarding.
Rewarding.
And what does
So
that
what
look
happened? Well, what happens now mostly is, let's just use a woman and man. So a woman tells the man a truth about something. The man gets impacted. He then gets triggered. And then what he does, instead of saying, hey, I'm triggered, I'm having feelings, he then will throw the bile, the hot potato, back on her. You did this and you hurt my feelings, which tells the woman that it's not safe to tell the man the truth, which has her say less. And then all of a sudden there's bigger distance between the two of them.
Okay.
My practice with my wife is, no matter what she says, no matter how chargy it is, no matter how triggered I get, the first thing I'll say is, thank you for telling me that. Now I'm having some feelings and I need to do some push-ups or go for a walk or beat my punching bag for a little bit. I'll be back. But really, thank you for telling me. And just by making it safe, it creates a pathway for more and more truth to be told.
So that's interesting. I like that. I think that we all could live more authentically in our partnerships and in friendships all together. Do you think, Robert, in your expert opinion, that men tend to hide, obviously differently from this truth / this way of living? And if they do, like, where are they hiding and why? Where are they? In the closet?
Yeah. Men definitely hide differently and as much as women. My book is called Unhidden. It's about how to not hide, how to tell the truth. And so I'll say kind of a generalization. I just want to really make sure that's clear. Actually, I listened to your podcast, and I really like that you said things like male identified and female identified. I really like that terminology in our confusing, many gendered world. So what I'll say is kind of a stereotype in the middle of the bell curve in terms of men. So men are taught to hide their emotions, taught to hide their weakness, taught to pull back and not show, because we're taught in society that having any feelings or having emotions, one, is feminine or female, and two, is weak. So what we do is we take all the turmoil that goes on inside our system, we judge if it's appropriate. We usually say it's not, because we want to look solid, stoic, and approachable. And then it comes out, it like ekes out in a fight or something passive aggressive. So men definitely tend to hide their internal state out of fear of being rejected.
And so what is the effect of withholding? I mean, what is that? I mean, I know that I see that's why they're doing it, because of the social conditioning of what they're taught. But how does it translate, and what does it actually do in intimate partnerships?
I think it's the detrimental cancer of relationship that men are taught this. I think what happens, excuse me, is that women want more of their man. They want to feel. Again, we're in generalities, but women want the whole picture of a man. They want his stoic, strong Viking warrior, and they want his emotional, deep, vulnerable, crying, wrung out side, and all the spectrum in between. Now, when they want which part is a little complicated, but the point is they want the full spectrum. If a man disavows or denies all the feeling side, that part of a woman doesn't get fed, which means she has to look elsewhere. Sometimes to another man, sometimes to the movies, sometimes to food, sometimes to a girlfriend. But when you don't allow that part to flow, you can't relate to your partner, your best friend, your woman on all these magical places, and you don't see that part of her. She doesn't see that part of you. And so it's sort of you're robbing from each other the full experience of life.
Yeah, I love that, and I mean I don't love when that happens, but I love but I love the way that you put that. And I recently was at a retreat, and we were doing some work with a Buddhist teacher that was talking about the masculine and feminine, talking about when the masculine is in its highest expression, its most clear and authentic expression. It shows up in support and in protection of the earth, of the feminine, and on all of that. And that when the masculine is showing up as its lower, more like, her inner child, or all the other stuff that comes with that, it shows up more as like the destroyer, or more of that hiding, withholding parts of itself. And I understand that. I feel like withholding, like what you're saying. If I feel a partner withholding love, withholding their truth, it's just becomes hard to trust them. That safety feels like it changes, and then my heart hurts when there's a withholding of love too. But especially when it becomes to truth and the full expression of what's really present. So. Yeah, I think it's really, really important for all folks of all genders to tap into that. But again, we're specifically talking about men. So what about the effect of the realm of social media? And I mean, I know, because when we're talking about authenticity here, people are always thinking of that. This is in person. This is relating in person and connecting in like a real way. Is that possible to do when you're not face to face with someone? Does that affect the ability to be authentically connected?
I'm a fan of social media. I'm a fan of electronic technology, especially when you add facial. You do the Skype with the video, or you do the FaceTime with the video. We're so much. And so being in person, of course, is the highest level of connection. Your limbic systems actually physically interact, your body exchange elements, even if you're not touching. So in person has the most powerful for connection. But you can effort to show yourself on social media and electronics. But, and this is a big but, we're actually culturated not to, mostly because out of fear of being rejected or abandoned. And so we tend to I've noticed people tend to play it safer on social media because of trolls, because of all the people out there that can flame you. And so what we do is we do create optimized social media profiles. We do show our best pictures. We do show our best days rather than showing. Yeah, catfishing. Yeah. So it's like we do show our best side rather than the humanity, because we are afraid that we won't get picked. We are afraid we won't get recognized. We're afraid we won't get seen. And that is a very scary thing for a man, not to be picked, especially in his competitive mind against other men in the pack.
when I think of the dating world, and not a lot of men that I know, and I won't name any names, but this idea that and it's not just men, but I'm going to stick with men right now. Putting on this specific persona of who they are, what they want. You know, I want monogamy. I want the whole package and the whole dream, and I might not be ready to settle down yet, but this is what I want. And then they start dating someone, and I've met a number of them that deep down, they actually don't have that same vision, but they're painting the picture that they have the vision, that they think that the people that they're searching for, that they only want that. You know, they want the white picket fence and the marriage and the babies and the monogamy and all that. And they aren't completely honest with where they're at, that there might be fear there, or might just be a different interest in the dream. And so they end up getting in relationships, and they do things on the side. You know, they're not honest about it. They have this other part of them where they can go and whether it's outside of monogamy, there's just other ways of being where they're not being authentic in their relationship. And I've actually talked to them. I'm like, why are you choosing this when it feels like your truth is a different lifestyle? And they've said, you know, women don't want that. So I can't be upfront with that ahead of time. I have to live this other life.
How do you know that about every woman? Yeah. Seems like a generalization.
What would your advice be to those folks?
I think it happens all the time from like various shades of nefarious, intentions. I think a lot of people do place their best face forward, especially for the first 90 to 120 days, the first 3 to 4 months. We tend to only show our positive, polished side. Everything is great. And then the other person gets hooked. And then I'm going to finally, release and allow the shadows and the skeleton to come out. And that person's already, biologically hooked. So now we think they'll stay or actually endure. And I think it's really the habit of culture. And I can talk about the non-monogamous or the infidelity side I think you were referring to. But when it comes down to it, I think we believe in scarcity. We're taught that there's not enough. There's not enough love, sex, women, possibilities. We think if we find someone who says yes to us, we grab them and hold on to them like it's our last meal. So we swim in scarcity. We don't believe in abundance. We don't believe that the universe will provide. And so we cheat and we manipulate and we maneuver to stay when we've caught a woman. And I think it's horrible. It's a horrible practice. When I first met Morgan, I said to her in the first couple of days, and I'm like, listen, I'm not a monogamous person. I was in this situation and that situation. And I was like, if you want monogamy, look elsewhere, basically. And she said, all right, we'll see. And our relationship has morphed since that point, but just the honesty, the rawness, the truth set this foundation. And now 3.5 years later, it's like this woman knows me. She knows all my secrets. I know her secrets. And it's so amazing just to have the space to be totally true and real.
Well, I think that part of the reason my quest for doing this podcast was to hopefully on some level shift the consciousness of mankind to know that it is an abundant place that we live on. Then there's enough of everything, whether it's love, joy, penises, vaginas, whatever you're into. There's bits in between. There's enough. So hopefully, with the work you're doing and the work we're doing, slowly we can build to one love. No, I'm just kidding. I want to
many loves.
Many loves.
I want another question though about that. One other thing is, I just want to say, if you're not honest in the beginning, it's going to bite you in the ass later. Like, it's just, people think that I don't want to show all my cracks in the beginning because then I might lose the love, but they'll come out later. And I don't know. I personally think that when you talk about people putting their best foot forward in the beginning, and then there's manipulation and lying and all that. I think a lot of times that happens without them even knowing they're doing it. There's like the subconscious running that show, and there's folks that are consciously choosing that too. But I would just like to invite that if there is some awareness to what is happening, to understand that the things that we are hiding, should we choose to let someone get close enough, chances are they'll see all or most of it, or at least be able to feel into it and know that there's something else there.
Yeah. I'll say two quick things. One is, if you're afraid to show that person, that part of you that you're afraid of, and then that means that you don't believe you're lovable. And would you want to be with someone who you're not sure if they can love all of you? I mean, really, think about the minimizing. And the second thing is when I lie to my partner, I can no longer trust my partner because I've sold them a facade. They've bought the facade. I know they bought the facade. And now I know that they don't really know who I am. So I can't trust them because they're not seeing the true me. So every time you lie, it creates a little more of a chasm, a little more of a separation. And so it's about just revealing and being true. That's where the intimacy lives.
So are you now a monogamous, in a partnership that's monogamous, or is it monogamish, or is it kind of no defined terms? Is it just create this space with love and honesty and kind of see how it goes? Or no labels?
We have what I call a monogamy with guest stars relationship. Just so you know, that's a Rob Kandell trademark. I wrote that. That one's me. TM. It's monogamy with guest stars. And what that means is that we do have experiences with other people, but we have them together. I set it up with Morgan to say, you're a free woman. You can do whatever you want, anytime, any place. You don't need to ask permission. Because I have a PhD basically in non-monogamy and jealousy. But she didn't. She came into this relationship never being in a non-monogamous situation. And so over the 3.5 years, we've experimented and played and found what feels good to her and what doesn't feel good. And to me, it's so much fun being in the adventure with her. And we've just settled happily on monogamy with guest stars, which is really fun.
I love that name. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, TM. Don't steal it, everyone.
TM.
I'd like to ask you about the Me Too movement, and because I do because I work with clients, and a lot of the clients that I work with, sometimes there's this work on the confusion in the masculinity between being the too much guy, the too rapey, too sexual, too creepy, but then also the not enough guy, the more feminine, softer, not dominant, and not knowing how to fit in the middle because they want to be allies of women. They also don't want to be rejected. And I feel like the Me Too movement has actually made this even more challenging. And of course, there's some good things in the Me Too movement, but I wonder what you think, how the Me Too movement has affected men.
I love the Me Too movement. I think it's necessary. I think, we elected a president to create such a static charge environment that the Me Too could finally arise. I think there's so much danger and impact and negativity between the genders that I'm so glad that it's beginning to surface. And to your point, the impact on men has been very challenging because, 15, 20 years ago, men knew their roles. They knew how to act. They knew who to be. There was a sort of script. And then what's happened with a very changing dynamic of society, the pay grade shrinking, more women getting educated, more women going to jobs, loss of manufacturing jobs, really significant impact. And then Me Too is men don't feel confident. And what men are doing, instead of standing up and saying, all right, there's a new challenge, a new mountain to climb, a lot of men are just being like, screw it, quitting, going more into video games and then into free porn and not stepping up to the challenge. And so it's a very challenging time for men to say, I need help. I need to understand, which goes back to our original conversation. If you can engage with a woman who's willing to tell you the truth, if you can be a man who rewards and welcomes the truth, then you can start to get clues about her signs and what she wants. I was numb and dumb as they came at 20 years old. I mean, I was a nice guy, but I was a very numb and dumb guy when it came to women. And the way I learned how to relate to women was women telling me the truth. And that's because I was a student and I was willing and I was happy and I was grateful. And so for guys who say, I don't know how to handle women or I don't understand women or this is too confusing, well, that makes sense. Now, get off your ass, get off the couch, find a woman to be friends with. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner, and start to ask questions and then be really grateful when they tell you the truth, because this is gold and this is what leads to the best nookie.
Ask questions and also be an active listener, feel into the answers. I think people sometimes create an interview situation when they're dating, and that can be scary for folks. So aside from the Me Too movement, which I also agree with you totally. I think it was necessary, especially to see some of the behind the scenes things that were actually occurring in Hollywood, for instance. I mean, it was a scary situation that's hopefully going to become less and less of an issue. But with that, would you, in your opinion, think that there's some other changes that have happened in society that have affected men as well, especially in today's society with obviously the media, and we've talked about social media, but just where we are politically, globally, everywhere?
Oh, significant changes. And this is quite a bit of my research I've done. And so there's some outstanding books out there for reference. Man Interrupted, Philip Zimbardo, The End of Men, Hannah Rosen, War Against Boys, Susanna Hoff, Men on Strike. These are some really outstanding books out there that describe the epic change that's happened, let's say, in the last 40 years. What happened in the 70s and 80s is that society and educators looked at the differences between boys and girls. And I use these terms deliberately to mean under 18. They looked at what was happening and they said, okay, let's create more opportunity for girls. And so they started to create specific programs for girls to equalize where the boys were, and especially around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which was awesome. But they didn't create comparable programs for boys at the time. And so what happened is that as technology has increased in the last 40 years, the advent of moving to technology rather than manual, men have actually fallen behind. So if you look at like entry into college, this is a great statistic. In the 70s and 80s, it was 65% men and 35% women. Now it's flipped. 65% women, 35% men. PhD level, it's the same. The gender pay gap, which was 64 cents in the 80s, is now 93 cents for millennial women entering the workforce in the last couple of years. People are getting married later. Women have more choice. They're not financially dependent on a man. There's all this epic change in terms of society and choice. Women are getting more permission to be empowered, which is awesome. And men haven't had the same items, the same powers to step up. And so what's happening is women are continuing to rise up and surpassing men in a lot of ways, and men don't know who to be. And instead of stepping up, they're quitting.
Yeah, and I think that could translate over into the realm of sexuality too. Is that the roles there are getting kind of confusing and blurry, and so instead of doing the work and figuring out how to work together to learn new tools and techniques, there's almost this like stepping away, especially when it comes to moving more towards the different sides of the spectrum of masculinity, super masculine versus like more soft and feminine.
Right.
Yeah. That's a big thing. So do you have any advice what would you say for a man who is a big supporter of women and they have a partner who is saying, I want more dominance and I want you to show up with more, I just want you to ravish me. Like, what would your advice be for them, for a man who's like a little afraid of that because they don't want to be the creepy guy?
Yeah, that's a very common thing, especially because let's say men in their 20s and 30s, I'm 48 now, but I grew up in the 70s, the Alan Alda that moved to the John Cusack, to the Kenny G. Like I grew up in, the new age nice guy respecting women, meanwhile just gathering more and more anger. So the first thing I would recommend is a book by Dr. Robert Glover called No More Mr. Nice Guy. That'll explain what's going on in your system about the anger you feel. The second is to want to change or take on a new practice for you, not for her, not for the relationship, just because you want to enhance or increase this part of yourself. And for the woman in the relationship, see if you can move from nagging, pushing, or demanding into approving. Into a place where it's like, okay, let's do this together. And then find avenues of where you can learn this. go to assertive training, take a BDSM class. There's so many great teachers out there. Watch YouTube videos on it. Go to Toastmasters and learn to speak in front of an audience. Go take some martial arts classes, or go play racquetball, or work out. Like, I'm not sure what it is for each person, but the main thing is to get off your ass and from the point of longing and wanting, and start to take action to build your self-esteem, because self-esteem is built upon esteemable acts that have you feel good about yourself. And so it won't work mentally. You've got to be in a practice, and you've got to be in motion to find this part of yourself.
I love that. We actually use that advice often for folks who want to cultivate more desire or eroticism, and they're feeling disconnected. And it really is about developing practices that are almost like the stepping stones to get you there. So it's kind of what you're talking about. Like, it's not like you're just going to learn how to be a dominant man overnight. It's that develop these practices that really create that overall feeling for you, or give you that foundation, or that sensation of what it feels like to just be in your body in a really powerful way. And I love that. I think that's awesome. I didn't even think about all those things. I think that's really helpful.
Yeah. It took me 6 years of getting my ass kicked by really powerful teachers to find myself and to find these different parts. So this is not an overnight thing. It is dedication, it's commitment, it's practice, it's encouragement, it's accountability. It's a practice like any other. But I can tell you from my personal experience that at the end, you will like yourself, and you'll have self-love, and you'll have self-validation. And women will be so confused just because you're confident and not grasping and asking them to carry and be needy. And you just do it for yourself so you can fall in love with the truly magnificent men you are.
Amen. Hallelujah.
That's the football coach. Yeah.
Amen for sure.
Drill sergeant.
So we're excited to hear that you're having a book coming out in the next few months. And can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that?
The book is called Unhidden, a book for men and those confused by them. Which is everyone. It's a pragmatic guide for men in the 21st century of how to live. Basically, the concepts I was speaking today. It talks about communication relating to women. It talks about purpose. It talks about your father's path. And really, it's a down-to-earth, baseline steps, lots of exercises, just to find different parts of yourself. And there's going to be an interactive website connected to it. I have a Facebook group attached to it, teaching a communication course in Los Angeles around it and other parts of the world. So it's really just about giving men hope where they might think they're the only person with these fears or these thoughts. And my hope is that guys can be like, wow, that's the way I think, and this is the way I can get out of it. And for those confused by your partners, hopefully it'll give enough insights so we can get past that aggravated nagging into connection, collaboration, and like I said, better nookie.
Mm-hmm. Better nookie. Who doesn't want that?
That's right.
I love the word nookie.
It's yours.
Yes. Okay. TM nookie. Can you tell our listeners how they can find you? I don't talk about you. We talked in the beginning about your podcast and the book, but the information about your website, and how can people work with you?
The hub is robertkandell.com, and you can order the book. You can find the podcast. You can find my other guest interviews there. Like this one will be posted as soon as it's available. And my courses. So pretty much everything can be found at robertkandell.com, including my social media. So check it out there. Jump on my mailing list. I don't spam. It's fun. It's a good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no one likes that spam. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge, your wonderful gifts for all people. But I think this is really, really, really helpful. It's interesting. We've had a lot of women speaking on this podcast, and we are now on like a run for having male speakers, which is great. And I know that this is really filling a void. Is really important to have, someone like you, your voice sharing this information. So thank you so much for that.
And
absolutely,
to all of our listeners out there, you should check out Robert's podcast called Tuff Love, right?
Yes.
And it's TUFF though, like tough.
Tough. Yeah.
Well, Robert, it's been an absolute pleasure. We hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for spending a little time with us and all of our listeners. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in every Tuesday to this Shameless Sex podcast. We see you next Tuesday. Ciao for now.
Don't forget to head on over to our website at shamelesssex.com for more. And for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code SHAMELESSPP in all caps at purepleasureshop.com.